So today is June 1st, 2026, and Norway just pulled off a massive 3-1 victory over Sweden today.
Oh, an absolute statement win.
Right. But the craziest part, I mean, if you're looking at the same data I am, the craziest part isn't even the scoreline.
No, it's who wasn't on the pitch.
Exactly. I mean, we are literally hours removed from this friendly, and Norway completely dismantled their biggest rival without their two best players ever, even putting on their boots.
It really is a staggering result to wake up to, honestly. You had Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard, literally two of the best players on the planet.
Just watching from the sidelines in tracksuits.
Yeah, just chilling on the bench. And yet, Norway didn't miss a beat at all. I mean, you saw Jurgen Strand Larsen step up and score a brilliant brace.
Which means he scored 2 goals, for those of you listening.
Right, 2 in the back of the net. And then Antonio Nusa added just an absolute stunner of a goal.
Completely canceling out Alexander Isak's goal for Sweden.
It wasn't just a win. It was clinical. It was dominant.
And it completely blew up the narrative, I think, because if you've been following the lead up to this World Cup, you've heard the same exact thing repeated over and over, that Norway is just a two-man show.
Oh, constantly. Yeah.
But today proved that's just totally false. So that is exactly what we are getting into on today's Deep Dive. Welcome in, everyone.
We have a lot to cover.
We really do. We've got a massive stack of sources in front of us today. Match reports, historical wikis, tactical breakdowns, player profiles, all of it to decode this mission. Why is Norway suddenly being labeled the ultimate dark horse of the 2026 tournament?
Yeah, we're going to look at how this team was built, why their offense is so incredibly lethal,
and why, despite all of that firepower, they might have this glaring fatal flaw that could basically ruin everything.
Right. But to really appreciate the magnitude of today's hype, I mean, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the fans for a second.
Oh, man, yeah.
Because for Norwegian supporters, this moment has been a long, agonizing time coming. We are talking about a 28-year curse here.
28 years. I mean, just think about that for a second. You have an entire generation of football fans who have literally never seen their country play on the biggest stage.
It's true. I mean, before this year, if you check out their wiki history, Norway had only qualified for 3 World Cups ever.
It's just 3.
Yeah, 1938, 1994, and 1998. That's literally it.
So 1998 was the last time they were there. But I remember seeing clips of that tournament in the sources, and they actually made some real noise back then, right? They didn't just show up and politely go home.
Oh, far from it. That 98 run basically haunts the national memory in the best way possible. They reached the round of 16 in France, and they did it by pulling off one of the most famous upsets in modern football history.
Against Brazil.
Right, exactly. They beat an absolutely incredible Brazilian team 2-1 in the group stage.
Wow.
Yeah, Kejiro Rekdal scored this super famous late penalty to win it. And, I mean, if you watch the old broadcast footage, you can practically feel the stadium shaking. It really cemented the team's cultural identity.
Well, speaking of identity, I noticed in our notes there's a bit of a dual nickname situation going on with them. Officially, they're called Levine, right? Which translates to the Lions.
Right, Levine.
Which is kind of funny to me because you'd think a Scandinavian team would immediately just lean into the Viking imagery.
Right, you would think so.
Yeah.
But the lion is actually, it's a direct reference to the Norwegian royal coat of arms. It symbolizes sovereignty and national pride.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But if you talk to the older fans, especially when they're referencing that legendary 1990s era, they still affectionately call them the Drillos.
The Drillos. See, that just sounds like a 90s rock band to me. Where does that even come from?
It actually comes from their legendary manager at the time, Eagle Olsen. His nickname was literally Drillo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and under him, they played this highly disciplined, incredibly direct, defensive style of football. It was basically a brick wall. It wasn't always pretty to watch, honestly, but it was so effective that Norway actually reached number 2 in the FIFA World Rankings during the mid-90s.
Okay, wait. Let's unpack this. Number 2 in the world by playing, defensive brick wall football.
Yep.
But the team we are looking at today, the team that just scored 3 goals on Sweden without their absolute superstars, they don't look anything like that. So how did they get from the defensive Drillos to this current squad?
The irony here is just fantastic.
Yeah.
The man currently at the helm, the manager, Ståle Solbakken, he was actually a player on that 98 World Cup squad under Drillo.
Really? Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, but as a manager, he has completely flipped the script. I mean, he engineered a 2026 UEFA qualifying campaign that just defies belief. In 8 games, they had 8 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. And they scored a staggering 37 goals and only conceded 5.
Wait, 37 goals in 8 matches?
Yes, 37. That is an average of over 4.5 goals a match against European competition.
That's insane.
It is. And that includes completely thrashing Italy, a traditional European powerhouse.
Yeah.
They beat them 4-1 at the San Siro and then 3-0 back in Oslo.
Just totally dismantled them.
Completely.
Ugh.
Only 2 teams in UEFA qualifying won every single match, and Norway was one of them.
Okay, that's absurd, but hold on, I have to push back a little bit here. I mean, scoring 4 goals a game against teams in qualifying is great, but, European qualifying groups always have a few tiny nations in there where you can just massively pad your stats.
Sure, that's true.
So it's like a legendary 90s band putting on a reunion tour, but instead of the original members, they've recruited absolute rock stars who are somehow even better. But is this just nostalgia talking? Are we getting swept up in the romance of them returning after 28 years, or do the underlying numbers prove they're an actual threat to win it all?
No, it's a completely fair question.
Uh,
It really is easy to beat up on smaller teams. But to answer it, we have to look directly at how those 37 goals were engineered. Because it wasn't a fluke. And it wasn't just like messy goals from scrambles in the penalty box. It was a result of a uniquely lethal system built on 2 monumental pillars.
2 pillars.
Brute force and elite creativity.
Well, okay, I think I definitely know who the brute force is.
Yeah, Erling Haaland.
Of course.
I mean, he scored 16 goals in just 8 qualifying matches.
16 goals in 8 games?
Exactly. And to put that in perspective, that is exactly double the amount of the next highest scorer in all of European qualifying.
That is just cartoonish. The guy is a walking cheat code. And looking at his player profile in our sources, his list of nicknames reads like, I don't know, a roster of comic book villains.
Oh, absolutely it does.
You've got the Terminator, the Striking Viking, Cyborg, the Machine. My personal favorite is Damon,
Oh, yeah, Damon.
which his Manchester City teammates apparently gave him because he looks exactly like that rogue prince character from that fantasy television show.
It really does look like him.
He does. But the best piece of trivia I found, his actual surname, Haaland, it literally translates from Old Norse to Highland.
Which is just perfectly fitting, isn't it? I mean,
Right.
he is 6'4", he's incredibly fast, and he is absolutely ruthless in front of goal.
Yeah.
He's just a physical anomaly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about football. A striker, no matter how physically dominant they are, is only as good as the service they receive.
Right. If nobody gets you the ball, you can't score.
Exactly. And that is where that second pillar, the creativity pillar, comes in.
Ah, Martin Odegaard, the captain.
Yes. While Haaland is the hammer, Odegaard is basically the architect. He provided 7 assists in qualifying, completely dictating the tempo of every single match.
He's the maestro.
Yeah, he has this elite vision and technical quality where he could just unlock a really deep defensive line with a single perfectly weighted pass.
I saw in the notes that his former Arsenal teammate, Rob Holding, gave him a nickname too, right?
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
Martin Omigod, with like 3 exclamation marks and fire emojis just because of how ridiculous his playmaking is in training.
It's totally accurate. I mean, his ability to see space before it even opens up is world-class.
But listen, here is my biggest hang-up with this whole narrative, right? Having a Terminator and an architect like Odegaard sounds totally unbeatable on paper. But
Yeah.
didn't these exact same 2 players fail to even qualify for the 2022 World Cup?
Yes, they did.
So if they're this complete unstoppable unit, why were they sitting on the couch 4 years ago? What has actually changed under Solbakken to fix that?
That is the crucial tactical question, really, and it's the absolute key to understanding this current squad. See, in the previous World Cup cycle, Norway was vastly over-reliant on Haaland and Odegaard. They were just a top-heavy 2-man show.
Right.
And opposing managers figured this out very, very quickly.
So what did teams do? Just put all their guys on those 2.
Exactly that. They realized Norway was predictable. So an opposing team would just double-team Odegaard in the midfield to cut off the supply line entirely, and they'd put 2 massive physical center backs right on Haaland to just swallow him up.
And without the ball, Holland can't do anything.
Exactly. And when teams did that, Norway simply ran out of ideas. The rest of the team just couldn't step up.
Okay, so Solbakken realized you can't just throw all your defenders at the stars anymore without leaving someone else completely wide open.
Precisely. What Solbakken has done brilliantly over the last 4 years is integrate a world-class supporting cast that finally takes the pressure off the main guys.
which we saw today against Sweden.
Exactly. And the biggest change is the emergence of incredible talent on the wings. You have Antonio Nusa on the left flank.
The media is widely calling him the Norwegian Neymar, right?
Right, because of his dazzling footwork and how he slices inside toward the goal. And then on the right side, you have the really dynamic Oscar Bob.
Okay, let me make sure I'm visualizing this right for the listeners. So if Holland is like this giant wrecking ball in the middle, Nusa and Bob are basically the laser targeting systems making sure he hits the exact right weak spot.
That's a brilliant way to look at it.
Huh.
Or think of it like playing basketball against a team with unbelievable three-point shooters.
Oh, yeah.
The defenders have to spread all the way out to the edge to guard those shooters, right? Nusa and Bob. Which then leaves the middle of the paint completely wide open for your giant center Holland to just get the ball and dunk it.
Wow. Okay.
Because Nusa and Bob are so dangerous in one-on-one situations on the edges, opposing defenders just cannot tuck inside to help deal with Holland anymore. They have to stay wide.
Which means Holland gets one-on-one matchups.
Exactly. And as we know, one center back against Holland usually ends in absolute disaster for the defense.
Plus, reading through the profiles, they aren't just relying on Holland's speed anymore. They have real physical depth now for different situations.
They really do. Let's say a team decides to just, park the bus.
Which means they sit all their players incredibly deep, pack the penalty area, no space to run.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Norway can now deploy huge physical target men like Alexander Sorloth or Jørgen Strand Larsen. They just start launching crosses into the box, and they provide this overwhelming aerial dominance.
So tactically, how does Solbakken actually arrange all these pieces on the board?
He typically sets them up in a 4-3-3 or sometimes a 4-1-4-1 formation. But honestly, the real hallmark of their style isn't the formation itself. It's what analysts are calling lethal verticality.
Lethal verticality.
Yeah. They don't mess around with slow, boring possession, passing the ball sideways 100 times. They play incredibly fast, forward-thinking football that relies on really intelligent, rapid off-the-ball movement.
I actually read the tactical breakdown in our sources of Haaland's fourth goal against Moldova in the qualifiers, and it genuinely blew my mind.
Oh, that goal is a perfect example.
Let me try to describe this for you listening. Norway basically traversed the entire length of the pitch, almost 100 yards, with just 2 passes.
2 passes.
Not 20 passes, 2. The goalkeeper gets the ball, tosses it out to Strand Larsen in the midfield. Larsen instantly sees Haaland making a sprint behind the defense, pings a long ball right into his path, and Haaland just hammers it into the net.
Yeah.
The whole thing took maybe 5 seconds.
It's just devastating efficiency.
It really is. But that brings me right back to the central mystery of this deep dive. If their attack is this perfectly balanced, if they have the Terminator in the middle, the laser-precise winger spreading the floor, the aerial dominance, and they just crush Sweden without their stars even playing.
Yeah.
Why is every analyst in our stack of sources still calling them an underdog or a dark horse rather than a true tournament favorite?
Because ultimately football is a game of 2 halves. You have to defend just as well as you attack. And for all of their brilliance going forward, Norway has a glaring Achilles heel. One that is going to be brutally tested in this tournament. Their underdog status stems directly from 2 major tactical blind spots.
Which are?
Their defensive transition and a really severe lack of squad depth.
Okay, let's break down the defensive transition first. When you say transition, you mean the exact moment they lose the ball on offense and suddenly have to switch to defending?
Exactly.
So what goes wrong there?
Well, let's look at the mechanism of that vertical 4-3-3 style we were just praising. To play that fast, expansive brand of football, Norway commits a massive number of bodies forward. The midfielders push up high, and the fullbacks run all the way up the sidelines to support the attack.
So they're basically completely emptying out their own defensive half.
Exactly that.
Yep.
So imagine they're attacking the opponent's penalty box, and suddenly they misplace a pass.
Okay.
When they lose possession, they are caught in highly disorganized advanced positions. Because the fullbacks have pushed up so far, there are massive empty spaces in the wide channels, the left and right sides of their own defensive half.
Oh, so if the opponent gets the ball, bypasses the midfield, and just chucks it down the sideline, nobody is home.
Literally nobody is home. And it leaves the remaining center backs completely isolated. This makes Norway highly susceptible to really rapid counterattacks.
Wow.
If a team can absorb Norway's initial attack and then immediately strike back with speed, they're essentially running at a full sprint against a totally exposed backline.
And if those isolated center backs have to sprint backward constantly all game, they are going to get exhausted. Or worse, someone pulls a hamstring. Which I guess brings us right to the second major issue you mentioned, the bench depth.
Right, and this is where the reality check hits hard. The drop-off in quality beyond their starting 11 is really alarming for a team with deep tournament aspirations.
How bad is it?
Well, when your starters play for Manchester City and Arsenal, but your backups play in much, much lower leagues, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a steep drop.
Take the goalkeeper position, for example.
Yeah.
Arjen Nyland is the undisputed #1. But if he gets a red card or gets injured, the backup options they brought to the tournament have a combined total of 5 international caps.
Wait, 5 caps combined? Like, across all the backups. So you
Yeah.
are potentially putting a guy in goal at the World Cup who has basically only played a handful of games for his country.
Exactly. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And you see the exact same thing in the defense. If a starting center back goes down, reserve players like Hegem or Langos or Rosler, they simply lack major international tournament experience.
Right. And in a grueling month-long tournament, injuries and yellow card suspensions are inevitable.
Unavoidable.
So a shallow bench can just be fatal. You're basically putting a rookie up against the best attackers in the world, and they are bringing this shallow bench into what everyone is already predicting to be the group of death.
Yeah, Group I. It's an absolute gauntlet. They face Iraq, Senegal, and France.
To France. Yikes.
And that is 3 completely different tactical matchups over the course of just 10 days while traveling up and down the U.S. East Coast.
Okay, let's walk the listeners through this gauntlet really quick. They open the tournament on June 16th against Iraq, playing in Boston. What happens in that game?
Tactically, Iraq is the ultimate test of patience. They are very likely to deploy what's called a low block.
And break that down for us. What does a low block actually look like on the TV screen?
It literally looks like parking a bus in front of the goal. Iraq will likely drop all 11 of their players into their own defensive third of the pitch, staying incredibly compact in the central spaces.
So there will be basically zero space for Holland to run into.
Exactly. Norway will probably have the ball for like 75% of the game, but they will have to be incredibly creative to chip away at this human wall of defenders, all while making sure they don't leave themselves open to a sudden smash-and-grab counterattack if they misplace a pass.
Okay, so game 1 is just about breaking down a wall. Then 6 days later, on June 22nd, they travel down to New Jersey to play Senegal. I imagine that is a totally different beast.
Oh, night and day difference. Senegal is an incredibly physical, high-intensity team. They aren't going to sit back in a low block at all.
What will they do?
They will employ a fierce high press to suffocate Norway's midfielders the exact second they get the ball. Senegal thrives on rapid transitions, specifically using their blazing speed in the wide channels.
The exact wide channels you just said Norway leaves totally empty when they attack.
Precisely. That game in New Jersey is going to be an absolute track meet. Senegal is practically built in a lab to exploit Norway's biggest weakness.
Good Lord. Okay, and then assuming they survive that track meet, the main event. June 26, back up in Boston, Norway versus France.
The ultimate showdown. I mean, France is the global benchmark for elite talent. And tactically, France relies heavily on positional play and technical overloads.
Explain what you mean by positional play and overloads, because to a casual fan, positional play just sounds like, standing in the right spot.
Right, but it's actually about manipulating the opponent.
Yeah.
France uses their intricate passing and movement to purposefully draw defenders out of their natural positions.
Okay.
So they'll overload one side of the pitch with 4 or 5 players, force the defense to shift all the way over to stop them, and then instantly switch the ball to the complete opposite side where a world-class winger is now standing completely wide open.
Hold on. If France is built to draw teams out of position and punish them with positional play, and Norway's biggest weakness is leaving massive gaps and losing their defensive shape in transition, doesn't that spell absolute disaster?
It really does.
I mean, how does Norway realistically survive a gauntlet like that with such a thin bench? Won't they just get slaughtered on the counter?
That is the million-dollar question right there.
Yeah.
And it's exactly why Solbakken is going to have to walk a terrifying tactical tightrope. Against France, he might actually have to compromise.
Meaning he abandons the lethal verticality?
He might have to.
Yeah.
He might have to adopt a more conservative defensive shape. Because if Norway tries to go toe-to-toe with France in a wide-open, end-to-end shootout, France's depth and speed will just tear those isolated center backs apart.
But wait, if Norway sits back and plays defensively, aren't they just starving Holland of the ball and neutralizing their own greatest strength?
Yes, exactly. It's a massive gamble either way. They are damned if they attack, and they're damned if they defend. Plus, you have the individual matchup that literally the entire footballing world wants to see.
Erling Haaland versus Kylian Mbappe on the same pitch.
Exactly. It's going to be historic.
So, bringing this all together for you listening, Norway is stepping back onto the World Cup stage after almost 3 decades in the wilderness. They are arriving with arguably the most terrifying, potent attack in the entire tournament, backed by this flawless qualifying record, amazing new wingers, and a thrilling, high-risk, vertical style of play.
Yep.
But their incredibly shallow bench and their glaring vulnerabilities on transition defense mean that every single game in this group of death is going to be a high-wire act without a safety net.
It is such a fascinating case study. I mean, just from an analytical perspective, watching them try to balance these extreme world-beating strengths with such identifiable weaknesses, it guarantees absolute drama.
And I think whether you are a hardcore tactical purist who loves analyzing low blocks and positional overloads, or, you're just a casual fan looking for a wildly exciting team to adopt this summer, Norway is the ultimate must-watch.
Oh, without a doubt.
They guarantee goals, they guarantee tension, and they guarantee pure entertainment.
They certainly won't be boring. That much is absolutely guaranteed.
Definitely not. But we do want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over on your own as the tournament kicks off this month.
Right.
Let's say Norway does manage to survive the group of death. Let's say they navigate the low blocks and the track meets, and Holland goes on a tear and takes home the golden boot as the tournament's top scorer.
Okay, dream scenario.
Right. Does that finally settle the ultimate debate of this current era? Would an epic tournament run, carrying a dark horse nation on his back, definitively crown Erling Haaland over Kylian Mbappe as the absolute undisputed king of modern football?
Wow. That is a debate that could rage for decades.
We'll just have to watch and see. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Lions of the North. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and enjoy the beautiful game.
Until next time, take care, everyone.